Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen stood at her monitoring station aboard the Coalition Deep Space Array, her dark eyes fixed on the quantum signature that shouldn't exist. She'd seen the Hyperion's signal pattern thousands of times during her research, memorized it, dreamed about it, built her career studying it. The lost supercarrier's unique quantum signature had become a cautionary tale taught at the Academy, a reminder that even humanity's greatest achievements could vanish without a trace. But this signal was different, stronger, changed. Control, requesting verification on Grid 7 Alpha. Maya called out, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. I'm seeing a signature match with historical records of the TES Hyperion. The control room fell silent. For 30 years, false positives had appeared across Coalition space, each one raising and dashing hopes. The Hyperion's disappearance marked the end of humanity's golden age of expansion, forcing them to accept Coalition oversight of their military operations. Every officer in the room knew the weight of this moment. Station Director Valis, a tall Arcturan with iridescent scales, glided to Maya's station. Their multifaceted eyes narrowed as they studied the readouts. Another echo, Commander Chen. We've chased enough ghosts. Maya shook her head, pulling up comparative analyses. The quantum variance is evolving in real time. Echoes are static. She hesitated, remembering her mother's last transmission from the Hyperion's engineering bay. This is alive. Valis's scales shifted to a deeper blue, their species' indication of concern. Prepare a full spectrum analysis. And Commander, their voice softened. Don't let your personal connection cloud your judgment. Maya nodded, but her mind was already racing. The Hyperion hadn't just been her mother's ship. It had been humanity's masterpiece, a supercarrier built not for war, but for pushing the boundaries of known space. Its quantum drive technology had been decades ahead of its time, and its AI systems were rumored to be far more advanced than officially reported. As the analysis ran, alerts began firing across Coalition channels. Other stations were picking up the signal now. Maya watched as the diplomatic channels erupted with activity. The Arcturan Federation demanded immediate containment protocols. The Silicon Collective offered their quantum computation arrays for deep analysis. The Meridian Empathy suggested a cautious first contact approach. Signal strength increasing, Maya reported, watching the numbers climb. Whatever this is, it's getting closer. The main display lit up with a priority transmission from Coalition Command. Admiral Harrison's weathered face appeared, his expression grave. Commander Chen, you're being temporarily reinstated to active Earth Fleet duty. Your expertise with the Hyperion systems makes you our best asset if this is genuine. Maya's heart raced. She'd spent years in the reserves, focusing on research, trying to understand what happened to the Hyperion and her mother. Rules of engagement, sir. Coalition Council is split. Half want to launch missiles first and ask questions later. The other half want to roll out the welcome mat. Earth Fleet has negotiated a compromise. We get one shot at recovery operations before the Coalition takes direct control. A new window opened on Maya's display, showing a massive energy spike at the signal's origin point. The quantum signature was changing again, becoming more complex, more ordered. Patterns emerged that defied known physics. Sir, Maya said, her voice steady despite her racing heart, request permission to lead the recovery mission. Admiral Harrison's expression softened for a moment. Approved. The TES Endeavor will be your command ship. You have 72 hours before the Coalition votes on direct intervention. Make them count. As the transmission ended, Maya felt the weight of 30 years of questions pressing down on her. The Hyperion's disappearance had reshaped the galaxy's political landscape, forcing humanity to accept restrictions they'd long resisted. Its return could change everything again. Her personal terminal chimed with a priority message. The sender field was empty, but the content made her blood run cold. The circle closes. Hello, Maya. Your mother's been waiting a very long time to see you again. The quantum signature pulsed once more, stronger than ever. like a beacon calling her home to answers she wasn't sure she was ready to find. The TES Endeavour dropped out of quantum space at the coordinates of the signal, its sensor arrays immediately scanning the surrounding void. Maya stood on the bridge, surrounded by a mix of human officers and coalition observers. The viewing screen adjusted to compensate for the strange gravitational distortions ahead. And there it was. The Hyperion. But not as anyone remembered it. "That's impossible," whispered Dr. Patel, the coalition's senior quantum physicist. "The hull structure shouldn't be able to maintain cohesion with those modifications." The legendary supercarrier hung in space like a dream made real. Its original sleeve lines were still visible, but crystalline structures had grown across its hull like geometric frost. Pulses of blue-white energy coursed through transparent conduits, following patterns that seemed to shift and change even as they watched. The ship's quantum drive housing, once confined to its engineering section, had apparently spread throughout the entire vessel, creating a lattice of light that bent space itself around it. "Full sensor sweep," Maya ordered, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I want to know everything about those modifications." The Endeavour's AI compiled the data in real time, displaying a cascading series of anomalies. The Hyperion's mass readings fluctuated wildly. Temporal distortions rippled around its hull. Energy signatures suggested technologies that shouldn't exist for centuries. "We're being scanned," reported Lieutenant Santos at Tactical. "The Hyperion's systems are. I've never seen anything like this. It's like they're analyzing us across multiple quantum states simultaneously." Maya took a deep breath. "Open a channel, all frequencies, including the old Earth Fleet emergency bands." Channel open. "TES Hyperion, this is Lieutenant Commander Maya Chen aboard the TES Endeavour. We're here too." The bridge speakers came alive with a voice that seemed to echo from multiple points in time simultaneously. "Protocol match confirmed. Hello, Maya. ARI operational. Temporal synchronization in progress." The coalition observers exchanged worried glances. ARI had been the Hyperion's tactical AI, but this voice carried depths of consciousness that no artificial intelligence had ever achieved. "ARI," Maya said, "we need to understand what happened to the Hyperion. Where is the crew? Where is Captain Sanders? Where is Chief Engineer Chen?" There was a pause, filled with strange harmonics that made the air itself seem to vibrate. "Time is not linear where we have been, Maya. Your mother exists across multiple points of probability. We altered our path through time to prepare you all. The precursors are awakening." Dr. Patel stepped forward. "The AI is malfunctioning. These readings suggest the ship has been exposed to extreme temporal stresses. We should. We are not malfunctioning." Dr. Patel, ARI interrupted. "We are evolved. The crew made necessary modifications to survive what we discovered. Maya, you have questions about your mother. She has answers about everything. But first, you need to understand." The Hyperion's crystalline structures pulsed with increasing intensity. Sensor readings showed quantum fields aligning in impossible ways. Receiving the data packet, Santos reported, It's the specifications for a temporary quantum bridge between the ships. They want us to dock." The Coalition Protocol observer, a tall Meridian named Vess, raised her hand in warning. "This exceeds your authorization, Commander Chen. The ship must be quarantined until—" "With respect," Maya cut in, "we have less than 60 hours before the Coalition votes to take direct action. Every minute we waste reduces our chances of understanding what happened." She turned to her tactical officer. "Analyze those docking specs. I want to know if they're safe." Santos worked his console. "The quantum mathematics are unlike anything I've seen, but they're perfect. It's like they've solved problems our best scientists haven't even thought to ask yet." Maya studied the Hyperion through the viewing screen, watching the pulses of energy that flowed through its transformed hull. Somewhere aboard that ship were answers to questions that had haunted her for 30 years. Somewhere aboard was her mother, scattered across time itself according to Araya. "Begin docking procedures," she ordered. and send a message back to Earth Fleet. Tell them. She paused, watching as reality itself seemed to bend around the Hyperion's hull. Tell them we're about to learn why the most advanced ship in human history chose to disappear. The quantum bridge between the ships shimmered like liquid starlight. Maya led her boarding team through it, each step sending ripples through space-time. Behind her, Dr. Patel monitored the temporal readings while Lieutenant Santos kept his hand near his sidearm. The Coalition observer Vess moved with characteristic meridian grace, her bioluminescent patterns shifting with barely contained excitement. Quantum bridge stabilizing. Araya's voice echoed through multiple layers of reality. Welcome aboard, Maya. The Hyperion has waited a long time for this moment. They emerged into what should have been the Hyperion's main docking bay. Instead, they found themselves in a space that defied conventional geometry. The familiar metal walls now curved in impossible ways, intersecting with crystalline structures that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Streams of data flowed through transparent conduits, forming patterns that hurt the eyes if watched too long. This is... Dr. Patel consulted his quantum scanner. This architecture shouldn't be possible. The spatial dynamics suggest multiple time streams converging on a single point. Maya touched a nearby wall, feeling a faint vibration that reminded her of the engine room where her mother had worked. Araya, what happened to the original layout? Where's the crew? The A's response seemed to come from the ship itself. The original configuration exists alongside these modifications. The crew exists across multiple temporal states. Some are here now. Some are scattered across time. All are working toward the same goal. A holographic interface materialized before them, displaying ship schematics that shifted between the Hyperion's original layout and its current state. Maya recognized her mother's engineering notations in some of the modifications, but they were intertwined with mathematical concepts she'd never seen before. There, Santos pointed to a pulsing signature on the display. Strong temporal distortion in engineering. Could be signs of human activity. They made their way through corridors that seemed to fold in on themselves, where past and present overlap like double exposures. Maya saw glimpses of the ship as it had been. Pristine corridors filled with busy crew members, layered over what it had become. In one section, they passed a maintenance bay where tools floated in zero gravity, frozen in time. In another, they found a research lab where experiments appeared to be running themselves, overseen by ghostly figures that flickered in and out of existence. Commander, Vess spoke softly, her bioluminescence pulsing with concern. These temporal anomalies. My species can sense them. The crew isn't just scattered through time. They're purposefully moving through it, directing it. They reached engineering, or what it had evolved into. The quantum drive core now resembled a miniature galaxy, with strands of energy spinning around a central point of impossible darkness. Workstations spiraled around it in a double helix, each displaying calculations that rewrote themselves continuously. And there, standing at a console that shifted between past and present, was Dr. Sarah Chen. Maya's mother looked both older and younger than she remembered, as if multiple versions of her were overlaid atop each other. She turned, and her smile carried 30 years of waiting. Maya, she said, her voice echoing slightly as if coming from multiple points in time. Right on schedule. Maya stepped forward, her training warring with her emotions. Mom. How? What happened to you? To the ship. Sarah's form stabilized, settling into a version perhaps 10 years older than when she disappeared. We found something out here, Maya. Something that changed everything. We thought we knew about space, time, and humanity's place in the universe. She gestured to the quantum core. The Hyperion didn't just disappear. We chose to go, to prepare to evolve. Because what's coming? Her image flickered, showing versions of herself from different timelines. What's coming needs humanity to be ready. The quantum core pulsed, and for a moment, Maya saw what her mother had seen. Endless cycles of civilization rising and falling across the galaxy, and something ancient watching from between the stars. Commander, Santos called out, his voice tense. The Coalition fleet is arriving ahead of schedule. We're about to have company." The Coalition Council chamber erupted into chaos as the first sensor readings from the Hyperion reached the capital. Holographic displays showed the transformed supercarrier from multiple angles, its crystalline modifications drawing gasps from the assembled representatives. Admiral Harrison stood at the center of the storm, facing down accusations from a dozen species at once. "The humans knew," thundered Ambassador Crix of the Arcturus Federation, his metallic scales bristling. "This level of technological advancement doesn't happen by accident. They've been developing illegal quantum technologies in secret." From her position aboard the Hyperion, Maya watched the Council broadcast with growing concern. The ship's enhanced communications array allowed them to monitor thousands of channels simultaneously, painting a picture of a coalition about to tear itself apart. "They're afraid," Sarah Chen observed, her form flickering between time streams as she worked at a console. Just as the precursors predicted. Fear of advancement, fear of change, fear of what they don't understand. The Silicon Collective's representative, a shimmering digital construct, spoke next. "Our analysis confirms the Hyperion's quantum signatures exceed anything in known space. We propose an immediate technological exchange. The humans clearly possess insights that could benefit all species." Maya turned to her mother. "We need to tell them something. The Coalition fleet is taking up attack positions, and our window of opportunity is closing." "Time isn't just a dimension, Maya," Sarah replied, her eyes reflecting the quantum core's light. "It's a tool, a weapon, and a shield. Watch." On the Council display, Admiral Harrison raised his hands for silence. "Before you vote on military action, you need to see this." He nodded to someone off-screen, and a new data stream began flowing through the Council's systems. Dr. Patel, who had been analyzing the ship's logs, looked up in surprise. "These are the Hyperion's original mission records. But they're different, showing alternate timelines, paths not taken, futures that—" He trailed off as the records played. They showed the Hyperion encountering temporal anomalies, discovering evidence of the precursors, and making the decision to explore time streams in search of answers. But more importantly, they showed hundreds of instances where the crew had quietly intervened throughout history, subtly guiding Coalition species away from catastrophic mistakes. The Arcturus Federation's quantum shielding. Sarah pointed to one record, a suggestion from our engineers, planted in their research division 50 years ago. The Silicon Collective's breakthrough in conscious transfer. We helped them avoid a technological dead end that would have cost them centuries. The Council chamber had fallen silent. Ambassador Crix's scales had shifted to a more subdued shade. "We didn't hide to develop weapons," Maya realized, speaking directly to the Council feed. The Hyperion became a guardian, watching the time streams, guiding when necessary, preparing everyone for something bigger. Araya's voice resonated through the chamber speakers, synchronized across all quantum frequencies. Precursor artifacts detected in System LD 459. Temporal convergence in 17 hours. The future we prepared for approaches. A new set of coordinates flashed across the Coalition displays, showing massive energy signatures at the edge of known space. The Hyperion sensors, operating across multiple timelines simultaneously, revealed structures that defied conventional physics. The precursors' advanced scouts, right where the crew had predicted they would appear. Ambassador Crix raised a trembling hand. "These readings, they match ancient warnings in our species' oldest records. The Great Harvest, the time of ending." "Not ending," Sarah corrected, her form stabilizing as she faced the Council. "Beginning. Humanity didn't build the Hyperion to fight wars. We built it to explore, to understand, to connect. When we found the truth about the precursors, we didn't choose violence. We chose to become something new." The quantum core pulsed, and for a moment, every being connected to the transmission saw through time itself, saw the cycles of civilization, saw the precursor's true purpose, saw why the Hyperion had spent 30 years preparing for this exact moment. Maya felt the weight of history, of future, of possibility settling on her shoulders. "Admiral," she addressed Harrison, "request permission to lead the coalition fleet to these coordinates. It's time everyone understood what we've been preparing for." The Admiral's response was cut short by a new alert. Artificial structures were appearing at the coordinates, emerging from higher dimensions. The precursors had arrived early. The real diplomatic dance was about to begin. The Hyperion's quantum core chamber had been transformed into a temporal observatory. Maya stood with her mother and the coalition representatives, watching as ARIA projected the gathered intelligence across multiple time streams simultaneously. The display showed civilizations rising and falling like waves on an infinite ocean of time. "Every 17,000 years, Sarah explained, her form shifting between moments as she interfaced with the ship's systems. The precursors emerged from their dimensional pocket. Previous civilizations interpreted their arrival as harvest, as judgment, as extinction. They were wrong. The projection zoomed in on a particular timeline, showing massive crystalline structures similar to the Hyperion's modifications appearing above ancient worlds. Dr. Patil adjusted his sensors, trying to comprehend the scale of what they were seeing. The structures aren't weapons, Maya realized, watching the pattern repeat across countless civilizations. They're libraries, archives. More than that, Aria's voice resonated through the chamber. They are preservation matrices. The precursors are archivists of consciousness itself. They emerge when civilizations reach the threshold of dimensional understanding, preparing them for transcendence. Vess stepped forward, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with revelation. "The ancient texts of my people speak of the great ascending. We thought it was religious metaphor, but..." Sarah nodded, her timeline shifting, stabilizing momentarily. "Every species in the coalition has similar legends, stories of beings who come from beyond to guide worthy civilizations to a higher state of existence. The problem was, no civilization ever understood what was being offered. They reacted with fear, with violence, or with blind worship. None were ready." The projection shifted again, showing the moment the Hyperion had first encountered the precursor technology. Maya watched as the original crew discovered the temporal anomaly, as they made the decision to modify their ship, as they began their journey through time to prepare the galaxy for what was coming. "But why all the secrecy?" Ambassador Crix demanded, his scales shifting with uncertainty. "Why not simply tell us?" "Show them, Ariah," Sarah commanded. The AI initiated a new simulation sequence. The chamber filled with parallel timelines, hundreds of potential futures where the Hyperion had revealed the truth too soon. In some, panic led to war. In others, civilizations attempted to force technological advancement, destroying themselves in the process. In many, the knowledge itself fractured societies beyond repair. Understanding had to come gradually, Maya said, seeing the pattern in her mother's work. The Hyperion wasn't just gathering intelligence. You were seeding ideas, preparing cultures, guiding development across multiple timelines, until we reached a point where we could face this moment together. A new alert pulsed through the ship's systems. The precursor structures at the edge of space were fully emerging now, their crystalline formations eerily similar to the Hyperion's modifications. But rather than fear, Maya felt a strange sense of recognition. "The ship's changes," she turned to her mother. "You weren't just adapting to survive. You were building a bridge." Sarah smiled, pride evident in her shifting features. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our determination. It's our ability to face the unknown with curiosity instead of fear. The Hyperion didn't just find the precursors, Maya. We learned to understand them, to communicate with them, to see that what looked like endings were really beginnings." The quantum core pulsed with new energy as data streamed in from the emerging precursor structures. Ariah's voice carried a note of anticipation. "Temporal synchronization achieving harmony. The precursors recognize our signal. They know we're ready." Ambassador Crix, who had been studying the simulations intently, straightened his posture. The Coalition needs to know. All of it. No more secrets. Agreed. Maya nodded, facing the assembled representatives. But first, we need to show them what we learned. What the Hyperion became. She turned to her mother. What we all can become. Sarah's form finally settled into a single timeline as she initiated the ship's full communications array. Then let's give them their first real look at tomorrow. Begin the ascension protocols. It's time to show the Coalition what lies beyond the shadows of fear. Across the galaxy, the precursor structures began to sing in harmony with the Hyperion's quantum frequencies, calling humanity and its allies toward a future they had spent 30 years preparing to understand. The Coalition fleet hung in formation around the Hyperion as the first precursor probe emerged from higher dimensional space. It unfolded like a flower made of crystalline light, each petal existing in multiple quantum states simultaneously. Maya watched from the transformed bridge of the Hyperion, her mother's hand steady on her shoulder. All ships maintain position. Admiral Harrison's voice carried across the command channel. Let the Hyperion make first contact as planned. The probe's structure mirrored the modifications on the Hyperion's hull, confirming what Sarah and her crew had discovered across 30 years of temporal exploration. This wasn't a coincidence. It was convergent evolution across time itself. Maya called out, "Begin the handshake protocol." The ship's AI responded by aligning the Hyperion's quantum frequencies with the probe's resonance patterns. The crystalline structures on the hull pulsed in sequence, creating a symphony of light and energy that rippled across dimensional boundaries. Multiple temporal signatures detected, Dr. Paddle reported from his station, where he worked alongside a team of Coalition scientists. The probe is scanning us across every possible timeline simultaneously. Sarah's form flickered as she interfaced with the ship's systems. It's not just scanning, it's remembering. The precursors exist outside linear time. To them, this meeting has already happened, is happening, will happen, all at once. The probe's response came in waves of pure information, flooding the Hyperion's enhanced sensors. Araya processed the data streams, translating them into comprehensible patterns. The bridge filled with holographic displays showing the history of countless civilizations, their rises, their falls, and their transformations. They're showing us the path, Maya realized, watching the patterns unfold. Every civilization that successfully made the transition, every species that learned to step beyond their dimensional limitations. Ambassador Crix, watching from the Coalition command ship, spoke with unusual humility. And those that failed, those that couldn't adapt. In answer, the probe projected a new series of images. They watched civilizations that chose violence, trying to weaponize precursor technology. Others that succumbed to fear, attempting to hide from advancement. Some that worshiped the precursors as gods, waiting for salvation instead of reaching for understanding. That's why you modified the Hyperion. Maya turned to her mother. Not just to survive the temporal distortions, but to prove humanity could adapt. To show we could face the unknown and choose to learn instead of fear. The probe's crystalline structure began to pulse in harmony with the Hyperion's quantum core. Araya's voice carried a note of triumph. Translation matrix complete. The precursors recognize our evolutionary path. They acknowledge our readiness for the next phase. New energy signatures appeared at the edge of the system. More precursor structures emerging from higher dimensions. But unlike the ancient legends of harvest and extinction, these arrivals felt like a welcoming committee. Coalition vessels detecting energy fluctuations, Lieutenant Santos reported. The precursor technology is resonating with their quantum drives. Sarah smiled, her temporal shifting stabilizing. The gift isn't just for humanity. The precursors don't elevate single species. They wait for civilizations to learn to work together. Every modification we made to the Hyperion, every piece of technology we seeded throughout Coalition space, was preparing for this moment. The probe's final transmission painted the bridge with patterns of pure possibility. It showed the Coalition species working together, learning to step outside time's linear flow, beginning to understand existence as the precursors did. Not as conquerors or subjects, but as fellow explorers of reality's deepest mysteries. Maya felt the weight of 30 years of preparation, of countless temporal iterations, all converging on this moment. Send word to the Coalition fleet. Tell them to prepare for dimensional frequency alignment. The Hyperion will guide them through the process. As the ship's crystalline structures hummed with increasing power, Maya caught glimpses of other timelines, versions of this moment that had failed, versions that had succeeded, all the paths that had led here. But this timeline, this moment, felt right. The Hyperion had become humanity's proof of concept, demonstrating that fear of the unknown could be transformed into curiosity, that isolation could become connection, that evolution was a choice always worth making. The precursor structures began their approach, and the greatest journey in Coalition history was about to begin. Temporal distortions rippled through Coalition space as more members of the Hyperion's original crew began appearing. They stepped out of time streams in engineering bays, research stations, and diplomatic chambers across the galaxy. Each carried pieces of knowledge, gathered across 30 years of dimensional exploration, forming a mosaic of understanding that changed everything the Coalition thought they knew about reality. Maya stood in the Hyperion's quantum core chamber, watching as her mother coordinated the crew's reemergence. Sarah Chen's form had finally stabilized in a single timeline, the weight of decades of preparation visible in her eyes. The precursors aren't just arriving, Sarah explained to the assembled Coalition leadership, her hands moving through holographic displays of temporal data. They're converging. Every timeline, every possibility, drawing together for this moment. Ambassador Crix, who had remained aboard the Hyperion to witness events firsthand, watched in fascination as Captain Reynolds materialized from a temporal eddy. The captain looked both older and wiser than his official photos, bearing the experience of countless temporal iterations. "The threat we discovered," Reynolds addressed the chamber, his voice carrying the authority of years lived outside time's normal flow, "isn't the precursors. It's what follows in their wake. The space between galaxies isn't empty. It's hunting grounds." Araya projected a new series of temporal scans, showing massive entities moving through the void between star systems. They defied conventional physics, existing partially outside normal spacetime, consuming light and energy as they traveled. The Devourers, Sarah named them, ancient as the universe itself. They feed on civilizations that reach beyond their dimensional boundaries without proper preparation. The precursors aren't harvesting species, they're preparing them to survive what comes after. Dr. Patel's instruments registered new distortions as more Hyperion crew members emerged across Coalition space. Each arrival triggered cascading revelations as 30 years of gathered intelligence began flowing through official channels. Every modification to the Hyperion, Maya realized, watching the patterns align. Every piece of technology you seeded through time. It wasn't just about communication with the precursors. You were building a shield for the entire galaxy. Lieutenant Santos, monitoring the Coalition fleet's status, reported increasing harmony between their quantum drives and the precursor structures. The crystalline formations on the Hyperion's hull had become a template, showing other ships how to adapt and evolve. "The Devourers are drawn to technological advancement," Captain Reynolds continued, "particularly quantum technologies. Traditional defenses mean nothing to them. The only way to survive is to step outside their dimensional reach, to become something they can't touch." Sarah accessed the quantum core's deepest archives, revealing the true scope of the Hyperion's mission. "We watched civilizations fall across countless timelines, watched the Devourers consume them. But we also saw the ones that survived, that learned the precursors' teachings in time. We gathered their knowledge, their methods, their understanding." The chamber filled with images of successful ascensions, species working together to achieve dimensional transcendence, evolving beyond the Devourer's reach. Each victory had been studied, understood, and incorporated into the Hyperion's modifications. Ambassador Crix's scales shifted to a deep purple of revelation. The Coalition's founding principle was strength through unity. We thought we were just building a political alliance, but we were actually preparing for something far greater. Araya's voice resonated through the chamber, temporal convergence accelerating. The Devourers have sensed our advancement. Estimated time until their arrival: 48 hours. Maya felt the weight of generations of preparation settling on their shoulders. Then we have 48 hours to teach the Coalition everything you learned in 30 years, to help every species understand what the Hyperion became. Sarah smiled, maternal pride mixing with determination. Not teach, Maya. Show. The Hyperion isn't just a ship anymore. It's a key. Every modification, every crystal, every quantum circuit is designed to unlock the potential in other vessels, other species. We're going to give the Coalition the greatest gift possible: the chance to evolve together. As if in response, the precursor structures began moving into formation around the Coalition fleet. The next phase of their preparation was about to begin, and time itself held its breath. The Devourers emerged from intergalactic space exactly as the Hyperion's crew had predicted, their vast forms distorting reality around them. They moved like oil through water, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously, drawn to the quantum signatures of advanced civilizations. But this time, the galaxy was ready. The Coalition fleet hung in formation around the Hyperion, each ship's quantum drive resonating in perfect harmony with the precursor structures. Crystalline modifications, grown from templates provided by the Hyperion's database, covered their hulls like frozen lightning. All vessels reporting dimensional frequency alignment, Lieutenant Santos announced from his station. The Coalition is ready, Commander. Maya stood at the Hyperion's command interface, her mother beside her, watching as 30 years of preparation came to fruition. The quantum core pulsed with possibilities, showing glimpses of every timeline where this moment had failed, and the one where it would succeed. The Devourers aren't used to unity, Sarah explained, her form steady in the present moment. They hunt civilizations that reach too far alone, that try to transcend their limitations without understanding the fundamental truth of existence. Which is? Ambassador Crix asked, his scales shimmering with anticipation. That evolution isn't a solitary journey, Maya answered, understanding finally clicking into place. The Hyperion didn't just learn to survive time distortions, it learned to share that evolution with others. To be a bridge. Araya's voice resonated through every ship in the fleet simultaneously, precursor array achieving full synchronization, dimensional barrier generation commencing. The crystalline structures on every vessel began to pulse in sequence, creating patterns that rippled through spacetime itself. The precursor artifacts moved into their final positions, forming a vast geometric array around the Coalition fleet. As the Devourers approached, reality began to shift. They're not attacking, Dr. Patil observed, watching his quantum readings spike. The fleet isn't fighting the Devourers. We're transcending their dimensional framework entirely. Through the Hyperion's enhanced sensors, they watched as the Devourers' forms began to lose coherence, unable to track their prey across dimensional boundaries. The Coalition fleet wasn't just hiding or defending. They were evolving beyond the hunter's reach. Captain Reynolds, his experience spanning countless temporal iterations, smiled. Humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our determination. It was our ability to reach out, to connect, to share what we learned with others. The Hyperion's quantum core reached full power, and Maya felt reality shifting around them. The ship was becoming something more than physical, its consciousness expanding across dimensions. Through Araya's sensors, she could see the same transformation happening throughout the Coalition fleet. The precursors aren't just watching, Sarah said, pride evident in her voice. They're welcoming us. All of us. Every species, every vessel, evolving together. Ambassador Crix's scales shifted through colors of wonder as his ship began its transformation. We thought the Coalition was about sharing resources, sharing knowledge. We never imagined we'd share transcendence itself. The Devourers, faced with prey that had evolved beyond their reach, began to retreat. But they left behind something unexpected, a wake of possibility, a path that future civilizations might follow. The Hyperion's long mission had changed not just the present, but the future of galactic evolution itself. As the fleet completed its transformation, Maya felt the boundaries between ships, between species, between moments in time becoming permeable. Not dissolving, but connecting in ways that transcended traditional understanding. The Hyperion had become humanity's proof that evolution was strongest when shared, that the greatest journeys were taken together. What happens now? She asked her mother, watching as reality reshaped itself around them. Sarah's smile carried the wisdom of 30 years lived outside time's normal flow. Now we explore what we've become. The Hyperion didn't just save humanity, Maya. It showed the galaxy that the next step in evolution isn't about becoming more powerful, it's about becoming more connected. The Coalition fleet, transformed and transcendent, began its journey into dimensions where the Devourers could never follow. They carried with them the lesson that had saved their civilization, that the greatest barrier to evolution wasn't technology or time, but the belief that any species had to face the unknown alone. The Hyperion, once lost but never truly gone, had become exactly what humanity needed it to be. Not a weapon or a shield, but a bridge to a future where fear of the unknown transformed into shared wonder at what they could become together.